My name is Andrea, and I've been hosting Sunday dinners for my family every week for decades. It's a tradition as old as I am. Same table, same cozy atmosphere, and yes, the same classic recipes passed down from my grandmother. We're talking homemade lasagna made with 3 types of melted cheese, generous layers of tomato sauce seasoned with fresh basil from my garden, and ground beef simmered slowly with onion and garlic until it's just perfect. The garlic bread with butter I make is a work of art. Fresh Italian bread sliced thick, slathered generously with a mix of melted butter, finely chopped garlic, parsley, and a touch of freshly grated Parmesan. And the chocolate cake? Oh, that's my pride and joy. A 3-layer recipe with bittersweet chocolate frosting that my great-grandmother brought from Italy and passed down through generations. Pure homemade food, made with love and dedication, nothing fancy, but authentic. Every Sunday, I wake up at 6 in the morning to start preparations. First, I make the lasagna sauce, letting it simmer on low heat for hours until all the flavors meld perfectly. Meanwhile, I knead the dough for the bread, let it rise, shape the rolls, and bake them until golden. The table is set with the embroidered tablecloth I got as a wedding gift, the porcelain plates that belong to my mother, and the crystal glasses I use only for special occasions, which, for me, every Sunday with family is special. The aroma that fills the house is indescribable, a mix of sautéed garlic, fresh basil, warm bread fresh from the oven, and melting chocolate for the cake's frosting. My daughter-in-law, Tina, married my youngest son 2 years ago. At first, she seemed to appreciate these family gatherings. I remember the first Sunday she joined us for dinner. Her eyes lit up when she saw the table set. She complimented the aroma of the food, and even asked for my lasagna recipe. She's generally a nice person, polite, always brings flowers or a dessert when she visits during the week. She works as a nutritionist at a private clinic downtown, graduated 3 years ago with top grades, and has always shown a lot of knowledge about food. But lately, she's been on a health kick that borders on extreme. Tea started subtly a few months ago. First, she quietly questioned the ingredients I used. Andrea, what kind of oil do you use for sautéing? Or is that cheese whole or processed? Then she began bringing printed internet articles about the dangers of gluten, the risks of refined sugar, the problems with red meat. She'd leave the papers casually on the kitchen table while I cooked, as if I'd stumble upon them and have a revelation about how my food was harming the family. She started bringing her own rules to my kitchen, like no butter, pure saturated fat that clogs arteries, no wheat flour, full of inflammatory gluten that causes bloating and digestive issues, no sugar, white poison that feeds cancer cells and causes diabetes, and no red meat, carcinogenic and responsible for heart disease. Every ingredient in my kitchen became fodder for a lecture on functional nutrition, orthomolecular medicine, and alkaline diets. First, I didn't mind making some small changes to accommodate her. I started keeping a green salad in the fridge, made with organic greens she brought, dressed only with extra virgin olive oil and lemon. I swapped regular soda for naturally flavored sparkling water with lemon slices and mint leaves. I even made a version of my lasagna using zucchini instead of pasta, low-fat cheese, and turkey instead of beef. But none of it seemed to be enough for her. Every Sunday, Tina arrived with a new list of healthy substitutions. She suggested replacing butter with natural peanut butter, white flour with coconut flour, sugar with mashed dates or stevia. She brought vegan, paleo, keto, and anti-inflammatory recipe books. My coffee table turned into a library of trendy diets. She spoke with such technical knowledge about nutrition that sometimes I felt ignorant, as if 40 years of cooking for my family meant nothing compared to her studies. But last week, she crossed a line I never imagined. She arrived earlier than usual, carrying not 1 but 2 huge bags from an organic supermarket. Without even properly greeting me, she announced, loud enough for the whole house to hear. My husband was watching a game in the living room, my other 2 sons were in the backyard with the grandkids. That if I really cared about my family's health, I'd transform all my recipes into clean versions. She said she couldn't stay silent anymore, watching us all poison ourselves with processed food full of chemicals. She even brought a bag full of ingredients I'd never seen before. Almond flour that cost triple the price of regular flour, sweeteners with unpronounceable names like erythritol and xylitol, oat milk that looked like colored water, coconut oil that was solid at room temperature, and a slew of powders and supplements in packaging that looked more like medicine. She tried to take over my counter, pushed my pans aside, and started helping me cook the right way, as if I were a child learning to cook for the first time. "Let's make a real lasagna today, Andrea," she said, pulling out thinly sliced zucchini from her bag. "No gluten, no dairy, no trans fats, nothing that harms the body." She launched into her usual rapid-fire explanation about how zucchini had fiber that aided digestion, how her cheese was made from cashews and had more protein than regular cheese, how her sauce had no added sugar because she used only organic sweet tomatoes. I was polite at first, took a deep breath, and tried to stay composed. I told her, in the gentlest tone I could muster, that these recipes are a big part of our family tradition, that they carry memories of generations, that every Sunday when I serve my grandmother's lasagna, I feel like she's there with us, and that I won't change them. I explained that I understand her concern for health, but food is also about love, history, and identity. I shared how my grandmother taught my mother to make this lasagna when she was just 14, how my mother taught me when I got married, how I've started teaching my granddaughters. She rolled her eyes in such a disrespectful way that I was speechless for a few seconds. She shook her head as if I were an ignorant, stubborn person refusing to accept scientific truth. Then, in the most condescending tone I've ever heard, she said, "So, you're just going to keep clogging your family's arteries? You're going to keep serving food that can cause diabetes, obesity, heart problems, just because of tradition? Andrea, tradition isn't worth more than health. You need to evolve." That was it. I lost it a little. 40 years of keeping this family together every Sunday, 40 years of waking up early to prepare each dish with care, 40 years of hearing compliments, seeing smiles, creating memories around my table. And she wanted me to throw it all away because she read on some blog that gluten is bad. My blood boiled, my hands trembled slightly, and for the first time in my life, I said exactly what I was thinking, no filter. "Tina," I started, my voice louder than I intended. "These recipes have been in my family for 80 years. I've served them to people who lived to 90 eating this poisonous food. My great-grandmother lived to 94 eating buttered bread every day. My grandfather made it to 89 drinking red wine at lunch and dinner. My mother is 78 and still eats my chocolate cake every week. If you don't want to eat them, that's fine. I respect your choice. Bring your own meal, but you're not going to rewrite my family's history in my kitchen." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the clock ticking in the living room, the distant sound of the TV, the kids playing in the backyard. Tina looked at me as if I'd said the worst insult in the world. Her face turned red, not from embarrassment but from barely contained anger. She huffed, literally huffed like a frustrated child, stuffed her miracle ingredients back into her bags with exaggerated jerky movements, and sat down with her almond flour cookies she'd brought, chewing with a martyr's expression, as if that would make me feel guilty, as if she were the victim. The atmosphere during dinner was heavy. She ate only her salad and cookies, refused even a small piece of my lasagna to try, and made a point of commenting on how light and energized she felt when she ate only clean foods. My other sons tried to keep the conversation normal, talking about work, vacation plans, the grandkids' soccer games, but the tension was palpable. After dinner, when everyone had left and I was washing dishes, my son told me something that completely shocked me. He stayed to help clean the kitchen, as he always does, and while we were drying dishes, he said he needed to tell me something about Tina. He stopped what he was doing, looked me in the eyes with a serious expression that made me stop too, and told me that Tina's doctor had been telling her to gain weight for months. Apparently, her body mass index was below normal, she'd lost her period for several months, and it was seriously affecting their chances of getting pregnant. Something they'd been trying for over a year. The doctor had been clear, she needed to increase her calorie intake, include healthy fats in her diet, and stop with the excessive restrictions. He'd even suggested she seek psychological help because he suspected she might be developing some kind of eating disorder. But no, she completely ignored the doctor's advice and adopted an even more restrictive diet, cutting out nearly all carbs, all fats, all sugar. She started extreme intermittent fasting, eating only one meal a day. She began taking supplements to detox her body, doing cleanses with detox juices that left her even thinner. And she flat out refuses to listen to the doctor, saying he's old-fashioned and doesn't understand modern nutrition. My son was visibly worried. He said Tina had fainted twice at work last month, was constantly tired, irritable, and obsessed with healthy food. She spent hours researching recipes online, read labels for minutes at the supermarket, refused any dinner invitations because she didn't know exactly what was in the restaurant food. It had become an obsession that was affecting not only her physical health but also their relationship. Now I understood everything. She wasn't trying to help me or my family. She was trying to convince everyone to follow her diet, to feel less alone in her obsession, to validate her extreme choices. And Sunday dinner? It had become her stage to impose her plans, to try to convert us all to her food religion, to feel in control of a situation that was, in reality, completely out of control. Now she's telling everyone, and I mean everyone, neighbors, co-workers, gym friends, distant relatives, that I don't care about her health. She's created a narrative where she's the heroine concerned with the family's well-being, and I'm the stubborn villain insisting on serving poison out of sheer obstinacy. She even posted on Facebook about how hard it is to maintain a healthy diet when even family doesn't support your choices, without mentioning me directly but making it clear who she was talking about. My other son, always trying to keep the peace, thinks I should have made just one gluten-free, sugar-free dish to keep the harmony. Mom, it wouldn't hurt to make a different lasagna just for her, would it? He said when we talked on the phone a few days later. She's sensitive about this food stuff, and you know their marriage is kind of rocky because of the pressure to get pregnant. But he doesn't understand that. For me, it's not about gluten, sugar, carbs, or protein. It's about boundaries, respect, recognizing that everyone has their space and traditions. This is my kitchen, my tradition, my family's recipes. It's not a restaurant where you can make special requests. It's not a nutrition clinic where everything needs to be measured and calculated. It's my home, where for decades I've welcomed my family with love, care, and the recipes I learned from the women who came before me. Am I really being too inflexible? Should I give in and turn my Sundays into healthy cooking sessions? But what if giving in now means she'll want to control other aspects of our family life? What if next Sunday she brings rules about what we can watch on TV, how we should exercise, what kind of conversation is toxic for the family environment? So, am I wrong to stand my ground and refuse to change everything just because Tina thinks my food isn't healthy?